Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Reader's Magnet featured author interview, where we dive deep into the world of creativity and inspiration. So today, I'm honored to introduce Dianne Kokena, a 65-year-old wife, mother, and proud mammy. That's a grandmother for you watching there. So again, with a background in working at a middle school, and she had the privilege of connecting with students who face mental health challenges. And her dedication to understanding and supporting them is inspiring. And again, having experienced depression herself, she has a unique perspective on how mental illness can impact a person's life. Now, mental health is a cause that's very close to her heart, and as many of her children and grandchildren also struggle with mental illness, she's incredibly passionate about breaking down the stigma surrounding these issues and creating an environment where everyone feels comfortable talking about mental health. And she is here with us today to talk about her book, How Mental Illness Affects Teens. So please join me in welcoming Dianne Kokena. So Dianne, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Good to hear that. So Dianne, to all of our viewers though, and again, there might be people who might be asking, so tell us, what is your book all about?
It's just the tip of the iceberg on how mental illness affects teens, how it affects their daily lives, how it affects
Mhm.
their relationships with their friends, with their parents, with teachers. It affects every aspect of their life. So
Hmm.
it's that, and like I said, it's just the tip of an iceberg because it's a way bigger subject than what my little book has in it.
But again, though, mental health is a very broad subject, and there are a lot of things that you need to consider when it comes with it. But coming back with your background as well, and again, I just want to ask you, what inspired you to write this book, and how did your personal and professional experience shape this book? Then.
I actually worked as a study hall monitor, they called it, in
Hmm.
3 years ago. My grandson was in sixth grade and they offered it, and I said, sure. And I was so surprised at how many kids struggled, and they were comfortable enough with me that they would come up and tell me different things that were going on in their lives. And um, it really broke my heart. And I just really want, I want to bring them all home with me. Well, you couldn't do that.
Yeah,
But
that'll be
anyway,
kidnapping.
and I have kids who have anxiety, grandkids who have anxiety, and some depression. So, in fact, our whole family, my sisters and my dad and my mom. So yeah, it goes through our family. But yeah, just getting to know them, and then they stayed close to me. A lot of them did after I quit doing that because my body just couldn't do it anymore because I had bad joints. That's beside the point. Um, yeah, so they stayed close, and they would confide even more in me. And I just thought, you know what? I just would like to write a book, and I actually interviewed several of them. Of course, I got their parents' permission first because
Hmm.
they're minors, so I couldn't just
Okay.
ask them. But and I was really surprised because all the parents were like, "Yes, we love this." So, and they were very honest about their answers to all of my questions. So I was really happy with that.
We really love that. And coming back to your professional career, and also with your personal experience, really has this book has deep roots. It's something that you really do understand from the deep down. It's not something like a tip of the iceberg knowledge on what mental illness is. It because as you've said, your family members do have it. You've worked with children who do have it, and if it's possible, you could take them home with you. But again, that would be called kidnapping, so I guess that wouldn't be possible for the meantime.
That'd be a whole other book from jail.
That will be, but but going back this again, you told but I just want to also one more thing, because again, you work with students who do have a mental illness. So how does mental illness affect a teen's ability to function in school and also social settings, and are there any specific challenges that often go unnoticed?
Yeah, well, most of these kids were in sixth grade when I first met them. I mean, some
Mhm.
of them I've known since childhood, but most of them were in sixth grade. And even just those few years ago, things have changed in how people look at the kids, how kids look at mental illness. But
Mhm.
now I forgot the question.
Just let me repeat the question. Again, just wanted to ask though, if ever, again, if mental illness affects a teen's ability to function in school and also social settings, and is there
Yes.
anything specific that people
Ye-
don't notice that?
Yes, they tend they tend to just lock themselves away. They won't join in parties or sleepovers and or
Mhm.
anything. Or in fact, our daughter, when she was 10, all of a sudden quit spending the night with her friends.
Mm.
We had no idea because she always spent the night. So they kind of shut down. And then with teens, it's hard to tell because teens kind of go off to themselves at home anyway. I mean, they spend a great deal of time in their room anyway. So parents might not notice at first that they're having the problems. I think their friends notice before parents do that
Mhm.
someone's acting differently, and it also they lose. It's harder for them to concentrate on school, so their grades fail. And if they're in sports, they have a hard time concentrating, or they might not want to play anymore. So they're out of the sports that they've always loved or probably still love and
Mhm.
just don't want to do it because they just don't feel right. And a lot of
Mm,
times
yeah.
they don't know why they don't feel right. They just know that they're sad and or they're dysfunctional. They don't know, and that's what's sad too.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I do believe that it comes with also with experience though. Like some all the things that you've loved before, like out of the blue, like you just don't find enjoyment out of it, and then you just decide like I want to quit this. And yeah, those things are when it comes to teens, and I do agree with you with this. They might go unnoticed because parents might think like, okay, my teen is going through a phase. I just should just let it go. But deep inside, they'll never know if it's really they're going through something deep inside them that they can't even identify for themselves, and it might be too late. But talking about being too late though, and talking about intervention and help. Again, you've worked with students who are dealing with mental health issues. Can you share a story or example where early intervention made a positive difference in a teen's life?
Yes, there was one of the students. She was really suffering, and she did talk to her mom and say that she had tried to commit suicide like four
Hmm.
times before she ever talked to her mom. Her mom did finally pick up on the clues that, hey, this isn't just teenage hanging out in my room because I don't
Hmm.
want to deal with the family because they do that. And luckily, her mom noticed, and also some teachers had noticed her, and they had contacted her mom too. So luckily, she got intervention because she got to see a psychiatrist, and they've tried different medicines, and she's now on a medicine that actually works for her, and she's in therapy, and she's doing great. She hasn't tried to commit suicide for a year now. She said.
Wow, wow. And that's really good to hear. And coming back, because how do I say this? Because I do understand though that when a person says like you need to seek a psychiatrist or you need to see a shrink, there's this stigma that people think like if you're seeing a psychiatrist, you're crazy, or if you're gotta see a shrink, something's wrong with you. And I guess that stigma is something that a lot of people still don't accept within these days. I'm not sure if you agree with me, but I
Oh yeah.
think I think seeking medical help is one thing that people should really do and not be afraid of. And I really
Yeah.
like that story though. Like after talking to her mom, she got the help she needed, and right now she's up and kicking. It's been a year now, and that I'm really good to hear that.
And yeah, and the good news is she now recognizes, she knows if she starts to get into that space again, she'll
Mm,
know, okay, I need to tell my mom, I need to tell my counselor, psychiatrist, whatever she's seeing now. I know she was seeing a psychiatrist. I think she might be seeing just a counselor now, but
mm.
she knows the signs. So, like I know if I'm going through a rough time, which it happens, and it usually passes. I know if it's not doesn't pass within a certain amount of time, I know to go see the doctor and say, hey, this isn't working. We need to fix it.
But again though, but again, coming back, but again, it's just really it would be a better world though if ever a lot of people are just comfortable like talking, being open with how they feel and what they're feeling right now. Like they're- it's 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 just a stigma that people I don't know, it's just something that it's sad in a way. It's really sad thinking about it that a lot of people go unnoticed, that they're afraid to share how they feel because they're afraid to be judged. But Diane, just want to ask you though, in your own opinion, how do you think we can work towards reducing the stigma surrounding mental health, especially with teens?
I think to me, mostly talking about it. The more you talk about it, the more common it becomes. The less stigma it is. there, like, I think there's kids now who are way more open to talking about their feelings than they used to, and I really think the pandemic might have had some help with that. Even though the pandemic was bad, I feel like the kids who are older in school who had to stay home and didn't get to see their friends, I feel like they're more caring and more open to each other about how they're feeling.
Hmm.
And I know there were some kids that had, because I sent out a questionnaire, and there were some kids who said they were just what got made fun of for how they were being. And I think it just took a few kids to say, "Hey, I'm not. This isn't a joke. I'm having
Hmm.
problems for real. It's not a joke. Don't make fun of me." There was a couple kids strong enough to stand up and say that, and I think they're starting to realize, okay. And my hope is if the kids nowadays get comfortable with talking as they grow up, and their kids may struggle, they will be strong enough to. Your parents will be strong enough to say, "Hey, talk about it. Talk, talk, talk." There, you cannot talk about it. I mean, I guess you could talk about too much, especially with each other, because then kids get tired of hearing it. But no,
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I do agree with that. It really boils down to open communication with parents. Like, if you do have friends, yes, you can have friends, but again, teenagers, friends, they love to bully each other.
yeah,
That's just a normal
yes,
thing. But when
yes,
it
they
comes to
do.
it, but when it comes with parents, parents should have that vibe. Like, you can talk to me, I would understand you, I'm the person that can help you when it comes to your problems. And I think, yeah, if ever we can start with open communication with parents and teens, then the stigma around mental health, like being afraid to talk about it, would maybe it might not exist in the future anymore. But
Yeah,
again, come
that would be so great.
that would be so great. Yes, because again, think about it. We had this conversation earlier as well, you and me, talking about the past with people who have had mental illness. They would be stuck in an asylum. They will be tagged as mentally unstable. No help would happen. But right now, progress is happening, and who knows, right?
Right, right, yeah. Like I was talking to you, my grandmother,
Hmm.
my dad was too, and his father fell off the scaffolding and died, and his mom ended up in an institution. So the brothers were separated and put in orphanages, and he didn't
Hmm.
know any of his family. So nowadays, if that happened, at least nowadays she could get help and
Yeah.
maybe keep her kids with her. But back
Again.
then, it did not happen. But I do see progress, and I hope. Yeah, my biggest hope is that it continues and gets better, and people understand it. It's like be as common to talk about as having a cold.
Yeah, I think, and that's what happened with the pandemic, though. It turned out to be just like a cold, though. Yeah. So,
That's true.
since we were talking about the pandemic earlier, I'm thinking about
That's
the negative negative event, and now it
that's
is
true.
now positive, and it's really hopefully we'll still continue with progression when it comes with talking about mental health, and hopefully we won't regress back to the days where mental health
Right,
will be something ignored and
right.
bullied.
Yeah,
So,
and it's important that teachers can notice. I don't know how teachers get trained, how often they get. I know they get trained a lot, but and I'm sure they nowadays are getting more um, information on how to spot different mental illnesses that
mm,
kids might be experiencing.
yeah, and I think early signal detection would be something good. At least you can have that intervention from the get go. Like, this kid needs help. We got to do something about it before it's too late. Yeah, and I really like that idea. Hopefully, that would can be implemented in the future. And who
Yeah,
knows? Maybe it's going to be happening. We will never know.
yeah,
Okay,
maybe.
so
I hope so.
hope so. And also, Deanne, coming back with your book though, how mental illness affects teens. Again, there might be people, there will be people who will be hesitant to pick up your book or would love to pick up your book, and there might be people who be converted to purchase your book and read it. But I just want to ask you, what do you hope your readers to take away from your book then?
I hope that they learn because there are some tips for parents in there, like and
Hmm.
um, you can kind of see some of the signs, and maybe people will learn to look for signs in not just their own kids, but friends, because adults and younger kids, besides teens, also experience this. It's not just a teen thing, and I do say that in the book. But hopefully, people will learn a little bit more about mental illness and that it you can get help for it, and maybe how to deal with someone they know who has mental illness. So
Mm.
that's my hope.
And I do hope that as well. So, okay. So all of our viewers though, and people who are tuning in, again, if there are times though that you can't lean on, you can not always rely on Google though, but having a book handy all of the time though, as a guidance from people who have experienced it real time, how Mental Illness Affects Teens is your go-to book. Again, and if ever you want to grab a copy of Dianne Kokena's book, again, How Mental Illness Affects Teens, it's available through Amazon. And one more thing, I know that you might be having a lot of questions about her book and how she tackled everything and all these stories within her book. You can catch her at the Festival of Storytellers that will be happening this January 20th to the 2nd of February. Okay. And also, Dianne, is there anything else that our viewers might be looking forward for future projects from you then?
Yes, I am in the process of writing a book about glass children.
Hmm.
And if you don't know what glass children are, they're children who have siblings who have either mental illnesses or like cancer or a physical illness that takes most of the parents' attention away. So they're not purposely not giving as much attention to the other kids. They just have to give more attention to the child who is sick, but it still affects the kids who do not have any issues because they don't have
Mm.
as much attention. So
Oh, wow. And do you have a time frame on when we will be seeing that book then?
I'm hoping the middle of January.
Hoping by the middle of January though. Okay, so once again though, if ever you want to check it out though, you can try to check Diane's Amazon page though. If ever the book is available, feel free to grab a copy. And again, right now, add this to your future books to read list and add this to your collection. Again, How Mental Illness Affects Teens, available through Amazon. And you know what, Diane, as we come with today's conversation though, before we wrap it up, I just want to take a moment and thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insights. And if there's one thing
Thank
I can
you.
say, I truly and we all truly appreciate your time. And again, I'm excited to see where your writing journey takes you in the future then.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And again, so once again, to all of our viewers, though, Dianne Kokena, feel free to check her book out, available through Amazon. And to all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in. And always remember that every ending is just a new beginning in the world of stories. May your reading adventures be endless and your imagination boundless. And as we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your stories with the world. Thank you and have a good one. Bye.